right here at Venue Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job. What keeps the heartbeat of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of these and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned.
Hello and blessed AHA. Many thanks for being a part of Souq podcast today. This is where we talk about a variety of issues ranging from development, business, economy, anything that is worth talking about. It happens here on Souq podcast. Now, if you've noticed over the past few editions, it's been a series dedicated to the ongoing national workshop organized by the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation in conjunction with the Public Accounts Committee of the House of Representatives. It is for CEOs of ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria. And the conversation has been about public sector accounting and auditing. I have joining me today a delectable woman, one that you will see and like, oh my gosh. But this is not all about beauty. She is from the Nigeria Social Insurance Fund. And we'll be talking about what this workshop would do in terms of public sector accounting and ensuring that funds committed to every MDA in Nigeria ends up delivering the dividends that Nigerians look for when we talk about dividends of democracy, talk about common good, talk about development. Nice to have you here on Souq Podcast, Mom. All right, so I'm awed by your amazing look. But another thing that also puts me in awe is when I find women who are in key positions making a difference in society, making a difference in Nigeria. So you are at this workshop and for your agency, NSITF. Let's look at development and public sector accounting, the relationship between what happens at various NDAs and what the people get to see. At this workshop where the conversation has been about public sector accounting, what's your take on it and how do you think is going to impact your agency?
Thank you very much. This workshop has been extremely informative. I don't think that anybody can be or attend this kind of workshop and leave the same person. I, as you know, is the MD of NSITF, and this workshop is exposing me in particular to a lot of the current trends in accounting and auditing. And in my position, we hold this position and we're very much accountable to the public on how we spend government money, how we handle it, and how we spend it. So with this workshop, what I have learned and how I believe it will make a difference in the way we continue to run the affairs of NSITF is that we have become more informed as to the various rules, regulations, practices that should guide us in the way we carry out our affairs. We also been exposed to the various activities of the PAC, Public Accounts Committee. We've also been exposed to the auditors and what constitutes queries. And the whole idea, what we would like to achieve, is a situation whereby we're not called before the PAC Public Accounts Committee to account for some of our malpractices, our expenditures, and our breaches in our rules and in the rules and regulations of the land. So we have learned so much on what we're supposed to do. I've also learned that what we're doing, not all of it is correct. The ones we're doing, yes, there's some of them are correct. Some of them there leaves rooms for improvement, and generally, it has been an experience whereby we go back to our various institutions and know how to carry out activities in a more informed way because of this workshop. Definitely, it has impacted very positively on me as an individual, and I will go back and I will take it back to those of my staff, the directors in the institution, so that we can know how we can carry out activities in a more transparent and be more accountable to what we do, because these are public funds, and we want to make sure that we're seen to be doing the right thing. Yes.
We're going to take it from there, seem to be doing the right thing. And I too have learned from this workshop, because I've been in there with you all, that auditing has gone beyond just the books being balanced. It's now more about value. And in doing the right thing, it's about giving value to the very important things. Now, for your agency, for instance, how would this help, even in budget allocation, to the things that should be done, since it's not just about the expenditure corresponding with the fund allocated? It's not just about the books being balanced, but more now about value. And how would that translate to development for Nigeria?
Okay, yes. If I get you correctly, I think, yes, a budget is what we intend to do in a year. But we also have to prioritize the activities and the projects we carry out out of all those budgeted items. And of course, we have to prioritize. We have to make sure that it's based on needs and availability of funds. So we'll go back, and it's not just about, oh, this is budgeted for, so we must have to spend it. It's all about prioritizing the needs of the staff and carry out those ones that are highest on the list of priorities.
Okay. Can you just tell us a bit about NSITF? Some persons may be wondering, what agency is that? What do they do?
Yes. A lot of people don't know about NSITF. And with this, I'm just relatively new as an MD, but we've gone very far in creating awareness and also, creating the publicity, positive publicity, so that the public at large will know exactly what we do. Now, many people don't know. Most people just see NSITF, oh, it's one of those compliance certificates we need to be able to bid. But in actual fact, NSITF, like the name says, social insurance. We're all about social insurance protection, protecting our workers. As staff, as employees, we expect to go to work and come back in the same good condition that we left our homes with. We don't expect to die on the work or at our place of work or in the course of work. We don't expect to get injuries and disabilities. So what we do is that if there is a situation whereby an employee goes to work at the workplace or in the course of work and suffers injury, death, disability, what we do is that we are there to cushion the effects of such an occasion. We're there to cushion the effect. Like, for example, if somebody dies in the place of work and your employer has registered you or your beneficiary, it means that when that person dies, that dependent will be able to claim as much as 90% of what the spouse was earning at the time of death. So it means that the beneficiary is not left destitute. The beneficiary is not left looking for how to make ends meet. We have cases whereby in various organizations, people are still collecting about 1.5 million a month because of the fact that the employer was registered by the employer, and somewhere along the line, the employee died, and because of with various calculations that we do, the dependent was entitled to 90% of that person's salary. So that person is collecting 1.5. Some people are collecting 1.3 million. So our institution is such that we cater for, we provide social protection in cases of injury, death, disability. We make sure that we cushion the hardship that might come about such eventuality. So that's basically in a nutshell. If I sit here and tell you everything, we won't finish today. But we intend to increase our publicity, the output of our publicity, where in the next few months we're going to be putting out adverts, jingles to make people more aware of what we do. We also provide health and safety audits to make sure that the workplace is safe, to make sure that the fatalities are reduced. If we are able to educate the various employers on how to keep their workplace safe, it will also reduce the number of claims being made. Therefore, there will be deaths, there will be injuries. I'm sure you understand
Yes,
what
of course.
I'm saying.
You know what they say, prevention is better than cure. Thank you so much. So we've been able to do two things here. Talk about the workshop and also enlighten you about different MDAs in Nigeria. I bet a lot of persons didn't know what NSITF does, but now you do know. So just in case you're an employer or you're an employee, you could ask your employer, are you registered with the NSITF? Now, these are some of the agencies that the federal government of Nigeria has created to ensure that the Nigerian worker doesn't just go to work and return earn salary at the end of the month. Other aspects of your life, eventualities, are also catered for. Thank you so much for being on the show, ma'am. We've been talking with Maureen Alago, who is the MD of NSITF on Souq Podcast. I'll let you continue with your training. It concludes today.
Yes, it
wow,
does.
It's been a wonderful ride.
It has been a wonderful experience, a very wonderful experience. And I just hope that most MDs, DGs will find the need to appear personally in such workshops and not send people to represent them, because there is a lot to learn from these few days of engagements. We've learned so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Very much.
And this workshop has been coordinated by Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. We'll take a break. Souq Podcast continues after this time. Just stay tuned. Many thanks for staying tuned to Souq Podcast. We've been on a special series on the national workshop for MCEOs of the various ministries, departments, and agencies in Nigeria, and the conversation has been about public sector accounting and auditing. Yes, I have the honor of hosting on Souq Podcast today Rep. Bamdele Salamu is Chairman Public Accounts Committee of the House of Reps in Nigeria. Great to have you on Souq Podcast.
Thank you very much. My pleasure being here. Thank you.
So finally, the workshop, which began some days ago, has come to an end. Let's talk about the aim of the workshop and why the CEOs of the various MDAs was brought together to talk about public sector accounting.
Well, like I did say in the presentation I made earlier in the course of the program, for any organization, especially the leadership of the organization, there is always a need to grow with trends. Public accounting, auditing, and issues around public sector financing has gone digital, if I must say. There are quite a lot of things that have changed in the last couple of years There are a lot of things that are still changing in the way that we do things. And if we do not create a platform where experts can come together with the leadership of organizations, especially in the public sector, we'll find a situation where there will be so much friction between those organizations and the Office of the Auditor General for the Federation, which will eventually result in not only audit queries, but citing before the Public Account Committee of the National Assembly. And we feel that if we are all working together for the same purpose, which is service delivery, we should create a platform where we can all come together and listen to ourselves so that we know those issues that are frequently in contention, and the development in the aspect of public accounting, auditing, and public finance management generally, so that all our organizations will be compliant and we'll have less cases of flouting of financial regulations, flouting of laws, Appropriation Act, Public Procurement Act, and all other laws that govern public finances. So that is the reason why we put together this series of programs with the Auditor General for the Federation, and I'm glad with what I witnessed here and the report I got from the previous days that it's really been very impactful, it's really been very productive, and there's been a lot of engagement which has shown that there is a change in attitude, a change in understanding of what was the case before a participant came here for the training program.
Let's backtrack a little. Now, the Public Accounts Committee reviews financial statements submitted by the Accountant General for the Federation and even the Auditor General for the Federation. What's your assessment in the way that public funds are being used to bring developments to the people? And what do you think this workshop will be able to correct, if there is anything to correct so far?
All right, let me give an instance. For example, let me draw some examples from the 2020 report of the Auditor General for the Federation submitted to the National Assembly late last year. There are quite a whole lot of issues that usually bring up citing or indictment, if I may put it, on this agency. For example, issues around over budgetary expenditure. There are issues around, lack of due process in award of contract. There are issues around unlawful environment, that is moving of monies appropriated by the National Assembly for one purpose up to another. There are also a lot of issues around lack of proper documentation. How to keep our account books, vouchers, and the procedure they have to take, how to keep a record of revenue generated by those agencies and remittances of those agencies to appropriate account of the federal government, either that of the federal government or that of the account of the Federation, which the three tiers of government share from: federal, state, and local government. There are quite a whole, these are just examples of some of the issues that the Accountant General have identified almost year in, year out, on the account books of so many agencies. In addition, there is also a requirement of those agencies, and this has to do with documentation, to render accounts and have their audited accounts submitted to the Office of the Auditor General and Accountant General of the Federation every year. There is a timeline, March and May of every year, which many organizations, have defaulted in terms of doing. In addition to this is also the very unfortunate incidents of, extra budgetary expenditure. Now, by the provisions of the Nigerian Constitution, every money that will be spent by any ministry, department, or agency must be appropriated by the National Assembly. But you have so many organizations that either spend above what was approved by the National Assembly, or spend even money that were not appropriated at all. These are very grievous offenses, if I may use that word, which the financial regulation and the laws of the Federation do not look kindly at. But the good news is that there are things that can be avoided. And what the situations that result in this, we have listened to these agencies in a manner that can also improve the processes of appropriation in the National Assembly, and helping us to also do certain things in a faster method taking into consideration the fact that most of the MDAs have targets to deliver. And if our own process is very slow, it affects theirs, and the public is the one that that eventually bears the brunt. You remember when I was speaking, I also spoke about the digitalization of the processes, the working process of the Public Account Committee in a manner that makes us do less paperwork, work more efficiently, work more smartly, and work more productively. So these are some of the things which this workshop has really helped us to be able to deepen our understanding on, in terms of having the three-way communication, the Auditor General, the MDAs, and then the Public Account Committee, which sits more like a jury over reports of the Auditor General for the Federation.
All right, sitting as juries, that means you have the power to make judgments where a financial statement does not comply with what it's supposed to, the requirement, and you have the power to recommend sanctions. In doing this, how much of sanity would you say the PAC has been able to bring to MDAs?
Yes, I would say significantly we have been able to, because number one, nobody wants to be indicted because the consequences are very grave. The consequences can range from making a ruling that such an agency should not be funded from the federal budget. It may involve sanctions, asking that certain monies be refunded by the erring officer of government. It may involve reporting such an individual to prosecuting agencies to take such an officer to court and prosecute. These are all, consequences. And like I said, I'm not sure anybody will just want to have any of these consequences, applied to them. But one thing that I want to emphasize is, and I want our MDAs to really understand this, at least I can say this of the Public Accounts Committee of the 10th National Assembly. Yes, we have the powers. Yes, there are those consequences that are provided for by law, but we believe more in helping these agencies to avoid those mistakes, to avoid those things that might even have been done, erroneously or willingly, by letting them know that there are expectations from the public. The public expects us that when these monies are appropriated, these monies are applied to the right cause in a manner that will solve the problems. If we are able to solve the problems of the public, we are all winners, because the chief executive of the agency, the man, the Auditor General's office, the Public Account Committee member, we all live in the same society. We want our roads to be fixed. We want hospitals to work. We want the water system to be better. We want security of life and property. Everybody wants this. So if we avoid doing those things that lead to waste, those things that lead to inefficiency, those things that lead to corruption, if we avoid them, we all win. So we emphasize more on the need for these agencies to do things rightly, to do things justly, to do things lawfully, rather than waiting until they do those things wrongly and then we come and hit the hammer. Well, you may hit the hammer, there may have been consequences, but the deed has been done. And the consequences of those deeds done may be very fatal. For example, if a money is meant to fix an oxygen plant in a hospital and the money was diverted or whatever, people die because they have no access to oxygen. You can't bring them back to life, even if you send them out to prison. Those who have died have gone. So it is better that we work with them in a manner that will let them know that the consequences of doing things wrongly are very grave, and there is a lot of benefit in doing them right and helping them to improve on those aspects of their processes that may be resulting in flouting of these financial regulations and laws of government. We believe strongly that this has more benefits than just looking at the adversarial level, the judgment level, the punishment level, even though that is still there. And we do wield the big stick when it becomes necessary. Recently, we were doing an investigation on the expenditure for COVID-19. And we discovered that a ministry got a sum of 10 billion naira to establish a vaccine production plant. And they never, established any vaccine production plant and didn't return the money to the federal government account. These are some of the things that you see and you just wonder what exactly is happening. And we had to really, come hard on them and direct that such monies should immediately be refunded back to the treasury of government, where the money was refunded. Imagine what 10 billion naira can do. Imagine how many blocks of classrooms that can construct, how many laboratories it can provide, and so on and so on. So these are just some of the examples of the things that do happen. And when such things happen, we have to come hard on such an MDA.
All right. So the Public Accounts Committee is a very key committee in the House of Reps and even in the upper chamber, the Senate chamber. In terms of public sector reform, what are you looking at to help the MDAs deliver effectively on their respective mandates? What recommendations have been made in the past and what are the new ones to be made?
Well, I mentioned a few in my earlier statement, but to be very specific now, I think one of the problems we do have with our processes and the MDAs in terms of public sector financing begins from the budget level. We are looking at a situation where we will be able to gradually transit from this envelope system of budgeting, because imagine a project that is going to cost 1 billion naira, and then you have an envelope in a budget of 50 million naira. So if you budget 50 million naira for a project that will cost 1 billion naira, you are very sure that that project will not be delivered. And there's no way that anybody can even start anything meaningful with 50 million naira of a project of 1 billion naira. So we believe very strongly that the envelope system of budgeting, even though it has some advantages, has a whole lot of disadvantages and is really impacting negatively on the ability of most of our MDAs to deliver on their core mandate. Another thing is that even after the approval of the budget, the executive also takes a lot of time in implementing those budgets. So if we say we have gone back to a budget cycle of January to December of every year, and by June and July of a financial cycle, we have not started implementation of a budget, we do not have any capital release as at July of a particular year, it will be very difficult, going by the provisions of the public procurement law, to expect those agencies to be able to deliver on those mandates that are included in the Appropriation Act within this few months of the year, if they will do things thoroughly and diligently. And then another area has to do with the issue of supervision, and that is where the oversight of the National Assembly comes in. The various committees of the House are taking the issue of oversight more seriously now, so that we don't wait until the deed is done. We engage with the various agencies right from the scratch to work together with them in a manner that will make us be able to supervise the implementation of the budget in a manner that will make us more efficient. Of course, there is also the issue of capacity in some of the agencies, and I must say this: we have discovered that some of the agencies lack the required capacity to deliver on some of the things that are appropriated for them in the budget. And if they don't have the technical capacity to deliver, there is absolutely nothing you can do about it. A man can only give what he has. If he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it. So these are some of the things that we have identified as problems in the various implementation of the mandates of the various MDs. And as an institution, the House of Reps is committed to helping these agencies, helping government to ensure that we reduce all these bottlenecks, we reduce all these problems in a manner that will make us, deliver better service to the public.
All right. Now let's talk about equipping those who will deliver the service. Now this workshop has been coordinated by Africa Development Studies Center. Why did PAC choose to let them coordinate? What's your take on human capital development and the role that Africa Development Studies Center is playing, and in this one that it has collaborated with Public Accounts Committee and also Office of the Auditor General for the...
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at the 10th Assembly of the National Assembly, especially the committee I have the privilege of chairing, since the commencement of our work in the month of October of 2023, we have taken the African Development Studies Center as a major partner in human capital development. The unveiling of the committee itself came with a very robust training program for members of the committee. So as a committee, we ourselves need to be well equipped to be able to drive the capacity development of our major stakeholders. So it begins with us. And, from October till now, our committee has embarked on 4 major training programs. We have had 1 international training programs. We have had 3 local training programs in the last 7 or 8 months thereabout of our operation as a committee. And the African Study Development Center is a major partner in this regard. We look forward to deepening this engagement. And this is one of the ways we are deepening it, this collaboration with the Auditor General's office. We are also identifying some other major stakeholders that we can collaborate with to target specific cadres of officers in the public service to ensure that we do training and retraining. There's no other way because the world is dynamic. You cannot use yesterday's strength to run today's race. You have to keep, fueling. You have to keep recharging. And it is only through these human capital development programs that you can get that done. So I assure you that this is something that will work for that one.
Very insightful and a powerful word of wisdom you just dropped there. You cannot use yesterday's strength to run today's race. All right, now let's talk now to those who you represent, Nigerians who the rep members are there for. Some of them sometimes see members at the house, tour committees, and sometimes they're wondering, why did it take so much time in deliberating? Could you take us through what it takes to do your job?
Yeah, I just remember that, my son asked me one time, Daddy, apart from holding meetings, what other thing do you do? I said, there's no other thing we do, it's meetings that we do. Yeah, that's our job. That's the work of the parliament. The parliament is a place of discourse. The parliament is a place of debate. It's a place of conversation everywhere in the world. And it is the debate, the discussion that we have that result in the most principle of our work, which is lawmaking. We make laws for good governance, for security, for welfare of Nigeria. And you can't make laws without, having discussions. If anybody brings in a bill to the House, which is the first stage of lawmaking, it has to come to the House for first reading. It goes through the second reading where you have a discussion on the major principles of the bill. And then if the bill passes through the second reading, it goes to the stage of public hearing, where you then call all persons that should ordinarily be interested in the bill, the stakeholders, to come together and discuss. It's also a discussion, it's also a meeting to bring their input, to look at the bill and tell us the merits and so on and so forth, before it goes back to the House for consideration of the report by the whole House, and for the third reading when it is passed, into law. So that is the principal function of the House. And like I said in answering some earlier questions, we have the responsibility of oversight. The oversight is the, supervision aspect to ensure that you don't just pass laws and go to sleep. Are the laws we passed being obeyed? Are they being implemented? Don't forget, even the Appropriation Act itself is a law. You vote so amount of money to be used for the reconstruction of so road. Is it being done? Is it being done in the manner where it should be done? The Committee on Works will look at that. You voted money for equipping of teaching hospital. The Committee on Health will come and do that. You vote money for purchase of equipment by the military, maybe some fighter jet and so on. The Committee on Defense or Army or so will come and do this. That's another thing we do. And then finally, the work of representation, bringing what has now come to be known as dividends of democracy to the people at home. Now, the federal government is a very large institution. Somebody cannot sit in Abuja, for example, and know the need of a community called Ikoton in Egbero local government of Osun State, or a place called Alajuo in Ede South, or if you're there in Ejigbo. They can't know. It is me as their representative that will go back to the federal government and say, well, you know what? In Ifeodun federal constituency, there is no motorable road. We have a federal road that links Iwo to Ejigbo to Ifeodun to Oyo State. It's a federal road. We need it fixed. And then we put that in the budget or in any other way through which it can be implemented. So that is the role of representation, where we act as the spokesperson of the persons who voted us into office. So basically what we do is talking, what we do is meeting, and that is the work, because that is what democracy is all about. Democracy is about discussion, it's about engagement, it's about representation.
All right, finally, after a week of training, what is your message to the participants at this national workshop? What are you expecting to see differently when your committee receives financial statements?
Yes, well, very importantly is the need for us to make use of the knowledge that we have learned here, so that we do not appear like the man that the Bible describes as the man who looks at the mirror, and by the time he leaves, he's forgotten what he looks like. We have looked at the mirror here. We have seen, we have heard, we have read things that we need to do better and differently. And it must not stop there. We have to then apply the knowledge. It is the application of knowledge that is called wisdom. The man who has knowledge and refuses to apply them is not the wise man. I expect every participant in this program to be wise. And that is to apply those things we have learned in making sure that our books are tidier, that our processes are lawful, that our execution of projects are value-driven than they had ever been. By the time all these things happen, we'll have less case for inviting agencies to come and defend this, come and explain this, come and shed more light on this. You have very less incident of such happening.
Thank you so much, Rev. Bamdeli Salam, Chairman of the Public Accounts Committee of the House of Reps Nigeria, for being with us on Souq podcast today. We thank you so much that your committee saw it necessary not just to sit and expect that the right thing is done, but to take the step to ensure that those who will do the work know exactly what to do. And we hope Nigeria soon will begin to reap the rewards of this workshop.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
And this is where we wrap it up on the special series of the Souq podcast, where we've been having interactions with the organizers and participants at the national workshop organized by Office of the Auditor General for the Federation in collaboration with Public Accounts Committee of the House of Reps Nigeria, to train, to equip MDs, CEOs of ministries, departments, and agencies with current trends in public sector accounting and auditing. We do know that at the time of scarce resources, what we do with the resource that we have is very important. I'm Blessing AG. Watch out for what's next on Souq Podcast on the next edition.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked to CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is historically
Hello and welcome. It's the World News reaching you live from our Souq News television studios. I am Oyinpriye Krumale. Now let's begin in South Africa, where the net foreign reserve grew to $61.733 billion in February, up from $61.328 billion in January, according to the central bank released data. The increased signals improved financial stability and a stronger buffer against external economic shocks. Gross reserves also saw a climb to $66.264 billion from $65.866 billion in the previous month. Meanwhile, South Africa's central bank's forward position edged up to $0.531 billion from $0.529 billion. The rise in reserves highlights South Africa's strengthened foreign exchange holdings, which are crucial for maintaining investor confidence and supporting economic growth. Now, the Chief Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, Simon Steels, has urged Nigeria to implement a robust national climate plan to drive economic growth. Speaking at a symposium in Lagos, Steele noted that bold climate action could create jobs, attract investments, and improve living standards while mitigating the effects of global warming. During his 4-day visit, Steele met with government officials, civil society groups, and business leaders to discuss how climate action aligns with Nigeria's development goals. He said that Nigeria's vast mangrove forest and clean energy potential presents opportunities for environmental and economic progress, stressing the need for increased international funding to support Nigeria's climate ambitions. Steele commended Nigeria's climate efforts but urged stronger policies that translate into tangible benefits for citizens. He reiterated the United Nations FCC's commitment to working with Nigeria to ensure its climate strategies lead to lasting economic and social impact. Now, away from Africa, to oil prices remained stable on Friday but are set for their largest weekly decline since October, driven by uncertainty over United States trade policy and increased output from major producers. Brent crude edged up 0.19% to $69.59 per barrel, while United States WTI rose to 0.08% to $62.44. However, both benchmarks are down nearly 5% for the week. Market concerns stem from fluctuating United States tariffs and a decision by OPEC Plus to raise output quotas, adding 138,000 barrels per day starting in April. Meanwhile, the U.S. is weighing new measures to curb Iranian oil exports. Now, still on trade policy, investors found some form of relief as global markets steadied following a volatile week dominated by United States trade policy shifts and rising borrowing costs. Stock mirrored Wall Street's decline, while currencies such as yen and Swiss franc, along with gold, remained safe havens. Trump temporarily suspended the 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico goods until April the 2nd, easing immediate fears of a broader trade war. However, uncertainty persists as high administration signals potential global tariff measures. Still in the United States, the job market likely strengthened in February, with non-farm payrolls projected to increase by 160,000 jobs following a 143,000 rise in January. The unemployed rate is expected to remain steady at 4.0% despite ongoing concerns over trade policy and federal spending cuts. However, economists warn that uncertainty surrounding tariffs and budget constraints could weaken job growth in the coming months. The Labor Department's first job report under President Donald Trump reflects mixed business and consumer confidence, with employers facing challenges from unpredictable trade policies and new tariffs. Analysts predict a slight drop in government employment, while wage growth remains steady at 0.3%, indicating moderate economic expansion despite risks. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has announced plans to visit Saudi Arabia to finalize $1 trillion investment deal, according to reports, which includes purchases of American military equipment. Speaking at the White House, Trump said the trip is expected within the next 6 weeks, marking his first international visit of this term. Trump highlighted his strong ties with Riyadh, recalling his 2017 visit where Saudi Arabia pledged $350 billion in U.S. investments. The new agreement aims to boost American businesses and strengthen economic ties. Additionally, Saudi Arabia will host a United Nations U.S.-Ukraine meeting to discuss a potential ceasefire in the ongoing conflict. The visit comes amid broader U.S.-Saudi collaborations, including Trump's recent talks with Saudi officials on Gulf investment and economic partnership. It's still the global news on Souq News Television. We'll be back in a moment. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Many thanks for joining us. United Nations, I beg your pardon, Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund is set to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in Malaysian budget airline AirAsia, forming the largest portfolio of the portion of the carrier's $225 million fundraising target. The airline, owned by Capital A, is offering investors up to 15% stake at the $2 billion valuation as it works towards profitability following pandemic-related losses. AirAsia is also consolidating operations by transferring the budget airline to a long-haul unit, AirAsia X. The deal reflects PIF's continued expansion in global aviation and tourism sector. Now, the European Union leaders have agreed to increase defense spending and support Ukraine amid growing concerns over Russia and concern regarding U.S. commitments. At a special summit in Brussels, leaders endorsed a plan to allow fiscal flexibility for military budgets and proposed a €150 billion joint borrowing initiative to strengthen European defense. French President Emmanuel Macron emphasized the need for Europe to build autonomous defense capabilities, while the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk called for an arms race to counter Russia's threat. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky attended the summit, securing renewed European aid despite Hungary's resistance. With the United States freezing military assistance to Ukraine, the European leaders debates alternative strategies, including Macron's proposal to extend France's nuclear deterrence to European allies. While some nations supported the idea, others stressed the importance of keeping the U.S. engaged in European security. Now, the Moroccan government has selected UAE and Saudi Arabia companies to participate in $32 billion worth of hydrogen projects in the country's southern region. Prime Minister Aziz Akhannouch's office announced that government committee finalized with 5 investors to develop 6 projects. The Abu Dhabi National Energy Company and Spain's Cepsa will focus on green ammonia and synthetic fuel, which Saudi Arabia's ACWA Power will invest in green steel manufacturing. Morocco's Nariva, fully owned by King Mohammed VI's holdings company, Almada, will contribute to ammonia and industrial fuel projects. Additionally, U.S., Spanish, German, and the Chinese consortia will establish ammonia production facilities. Morocco, which launched a national hydrogen initiative in 2022, expects green hydrogen demand to reach 30 terawatt-hours by 2030 and 307 terawatt-hours by 2050. The country plans to invest in $760 billion in infrastructure by 2050 to support its renewable strategy. Now, global coffee traders and roasters are scaling back purchases as Arabica coffee futures soars by 70% since November. At the recent industry convention in Houston, experts cited rising production costs and retailers' resistance to high prices, leaving many businesses struggling to stay afloat. With coffee warehouses operating at half capacity and storage firms canceling contracts, industry stakeholders and insiders predict market consolidation. While new coffee plantations may stabilize supply, traders warn that the industry faces uncertainty until prices decline. Now, the Women's Tennis Association has announced a groundbreaking paid maternity leave policy for players funded by the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund. The initiative will provide eligible athletes with up to 12 months of paid benefits along with financial support for fertility treatments and egg freezing. Former top players like Victoria Azarenka and Kim Clijsters have long advocated for such policies to support athletes balancing their careers and motherhood. This move makes women's tennis one of the last major sports to introduce comprehensive maternity benefits following similar steps taken by the WNBA and FIFA. While the partnership signals progress, it has drawn criticism due to Saudi Arabia's human rights record. Some view the initiative as a strategic effort by PIF to improve its global reputation through sports investments. Despite this, the WTA and players welcome the financial security and career flexibility program and its offers. And finally, on the news, as the world celebrates International Women's Day, Lagos State First Lady Ibijoke Sanwo-Olu treats women across the state to an event themed for all women and girls, rights equality, empowerment, with the call to #acceleration. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu reaffirms Lagos State's commitment to gender inclusion, describing it as her for she government that prioritizes women in leadership and economic empowerment. Guest speaker Professor Olurotimi Koka, a psychiatrist in his charge to women, highlighted the importance of mental balance for women handling multiple roles. Our correspondent Grace Komolafe have details.
International Women's Day, which is globally a significant day. It's not just a day, it's on our calendar, but it's a powerful reminder of the essential role played by women in shaping our society and driving progress. Our women internationally have come to acknowledge and recognize that we need to celebrate separately, differently. We need to set a day aside to celebrate, to thank you individually and collectively. And this year's theme is accelerate action. To accelerate action. It serves as a clearing call to move beyond the rhetoric and for you to take bold and decisive steps towards achieving gender equality and empowering women.
At this junction, I wish to sincerely appreciate the key stakeholders who have played significant roles in advancing the cause of women in Lagos State. Starting from your governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who, despite being a father and a husband, deemed it necessary to provide visionary leadership and unwavering support for women-focused initiatives, significantly propelling our progress in Lagos State. I also appreciate the Deputy Governor, Dr. Obafemi Hamzat, and his wife, Mrs. Oluremi Hamzat, for also supporting the growth and welfare of women in Lagos. Over the months coming, we will be noticing and be hearing a lot about more on encouraging every woman to plant something in their homes to reduce the poverty level. You will also be hearing a lot about financial support, elder support, and you will also be hearing a lot on environment, ensuring that your environment is clean. When your environment is clean, you have a healthy nation. When you have a healthy nation, that is when you can plan different policies. That is when you can now start striving to attain some leadership positions.
We must be balanced mentally. However, to be balanced mentally, all of us here must also be physically fit. That means we must carry out physical exercises 3 times a week for 1 hour to increase our heartbeats to 100 beats per minute. So we must also enhance our social health, ability to make friendships anywhere you are. Then lastly, ability to enhance your mental health. If somebody is stressing you anywhere, at work, at home, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law is stressing you and making you want to have mental disorder, write a letter to that person. Dear sir, dear man, you know you are the most terrible person in this world. I feel like slapping you. So write 5-10 pages, sign it, But please, go and hide that letter where nobody will see it. 3 days later, go back to that letter and be amazed about the venom you poured in that letter. Number 2, abuse the person stressing you. Not to his face, so put a pillow on a chair, write the name of the person stressing you, Mr. Jones or Mrs. Brown. Then abuse that pillow the way you would love to abuse that person to his front. So when you see that person following day, you will not have racist habits or palpitations.
Sit on the news, and congratulations to every woman across the world. And that's where we draw the curtain on the news. My name is Oyin Priye Krumale. Many thanks for watching.
For me, March is always a special month, and I'm happy it's a month dedicated to celebrate women across the globe. So it's International Women's Day, and I'm using this opportunity to urge everyone, every woman on the surface of the earth, to continue to take bold steps towards incredible actions and getting results. Let's not forget to celebrate the strength, the resilience, and limitless possibilities and actions of women who have made good for themselves across the globe. Also, let's ensure that our contributions continue to shape a brighter and equitable future, and together we have the power to transform actions into lasting impact.
Every year, the International Women's Day honors the achievements of women and promotes women's rights. This year, we're moving forward together, educating more women and inspiring generations. We are making the call to accelerate action. It's Women's International Month. The whole of March belongs to women. Yes, I can confidently say that because there are many days to be celebrated by women, for women, with women on this month. So the theme this year is moving forward together. We've done so much individually and sometimes collectively, but it would be better for all women put aside whatever differences that we may have and work together to ensure that more women get educated, more women get to occupy leadership positions and make policies that will aid the future, the betterment of all women.
In a world where women have realized their worth and continue to explore the limitless potentials available, our rules can no longer be undermined. We have seen great women do great things all over the world, and we can't but celebrate ourselves, recognizing the milestones reached and the barriers we continue to break. We are the heartbeat of change, the archetype of progress. Despite the obstacles, we thrive. We don't wait for change to come, we make it happen. We accelerate action, we push forward and demand inclusion to build a world where every woman's potential is fully realized. Today we rise, we lead, and we transform, because we know that when women move forward, the world moves with us. So let's accelerate action now.
For centuries, women have been fighting wars, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. In Africa, we have Queen Amina of Zaria, who ruled Zaria with her weaponry and her strength as a military leader. first African female military leader who conquered millions of men. In 1917, for the very first time, a woman was agreed to be enlisted in the military. And of course, in 1993, for the very first time in the history of the world, women were allowed to fly planes into combat. Women keep fighting these wars because men feel we are not strong enough. But shout out to all the women who have fought and who have stood their grounds in the medical profession, in the legal profession, in the engineering profession, and have conquered places that men felt women could not conquer and have done exceptionally well.
We are coming together to break barriers and also install a structure and a system that will make a brighter future for the girl child. This is me accelerating action now. To all the incredible women out there, the most powerful women in the whole world, I celebrate their strength and I celebrate their contribution to make the world a better place.
Happy International Women's Day to every young woman out there. For those who are still learning, who are still evolving to become the better versions of themselves. You're doing great, you're doing amazing, you look beautiful. It's your day, so believe in yourself and keep striving, and I'll see you at the top.
For all my sisters, mothers, CEOs, and strong women out there,
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Month.
Happy International Women's Day. I am proud of my gender.
keeps the heartbeats of a community alive? Is it the courage to create, the power to connect, the vision to transform? Well, it's all of these and more. It's a symphony of ideas, innovation, and industry. But where do these stories come alive? It's right here on The Isle, 104.9 FM, the station where dreams meet action and growth finds its voice. The Isle, 104.9. Business, economy, development. Stay tuned. Just what you need right here at Venue Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like no